The first slice across my meadow looked like a wound fresh, raw, and deliberate. Bright orange flags flapped in the wind like taunts marking a trench that cut straight through my land. By the time I realized what it was, the soil was already ripped open, yellow pipe coiled inside it like a snake. My land, my spine, my breath had been carved up overnight. And the worst part, someone forged my name to make it look like I'd asked for it. That morning started like any other. Coffee, sunrise, peace, the smell of dew on the long grass. I'd bought this land 15 years ago, 20 acres of rolling meadow in Redwood County, just far enough from town that I could breathe. When I signed those papers, I made damn sure it said, explicitly, that I was not under the control of any HOA. No fines, no rules about grass height, no one telling me what color to paint my shutters. Freedom, that was the real price I paid. So when I stepped outside that morning and saw a line of bright flags zigzagging through my field, I thought maybe there'd been some mistake. But the closer I walked, the sicker I felt. A trench had been carved right through the heart of my land. The heavy machines sat there abandoned, their tires sunk deep into the soil they'd mutilated. I crouched down, touched the cold metal pipe glinting in the sun, and felt my stomach twist. Then I saw it, the sign hammered into a wooden post like a slap across the face. Community Safety Initiative, authorized by Redwood Hills, HOA. At the bottom, their logo, a perfect little oak tree in a circle. Redwood Hills. The HOA that had been circling my property for years, like vultures, always hoping I'd slip and fall under their rule. I stormed back to my house, grabbed my phone, and called the number on the sign. Some receptionist answered, her voice flatter than roadkill. "This is Jackson Cole," I said. "There's construction on my property that I never approved. Who's responsible?" She shuffled papers, barely awake. "That's part of our safety improvement project, Mr. Cole. Gas lines are being modernized across the community." "My land isn't part of your community," I snapped. "You have no right to be here." She didn't even sound surprised. "According to our records, we have the owner's signature on file." That sentence hit me like a hammer. "That's impossible," I said. "I never signed anything." "Well, you'll have to take that up with the president," she said sweetly. "Would you like me to transfer you to Ms. Pike?" 5 minutes later, I was listening to dead air. They hung up. I didn't think. I grabbed my truck keys and drove straight into town. The HOA office was tucked between a nail salon and a dry cleaner, smelled like burnt coffee and arrogance. The receptionist barely looked up when I slammed my hand on the counter. "I want to see Cassandra Pike," I said. A moment later, she appeared, tall, polished, perfect hair, perfect teeth, the kind of woman who probably ironed her empathy out years ago. "Mr. Cole," she said warmly, holding out her hand. "What seems to be the issue?" "I didn't shake it. You dug up my land." She smiled like a snake. "We're installing gas lines for community safety." "My property isn't part of your HOA." Her smile sharpened. "According to updated records, it is now, and we have your authorization." "That signature is a forgery," I growled. She tilted her head, almost amused. "Those are serious allegations. You're welcome to pursue legal channels. In the meantime, the project will proceed." That was the moment I realized this wasn't a mistake. It was a theft wrapped in paperwork. When I got home, I found an envelope wedged under one of those damn orange flags. Inside was a printed authorization letter with my name signed at the bottom. My signature but off. Too smooth, too rounded. A bad copy of something sacred. I laid it next to my deed, the real one, and stared at the proof of what they'd done. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark, watching the moonlight spill over the scar in my field. This wasn't about gas or safety. It was about control. The next morning, I called my old friend and lawyer, Marian Torres. She listened quietly as I told her everything. "Jackson," she said finally, her voice calm but sharp. "Forgery is criminal. Trespass is criminal. We'll hit them hard. But document everything. Photos, timestamps, video, don't confront them alone." I spent that entire day walking my land with a camera, filming every inch of the damage. I measured the trench, photographed the fake signature beside my deed, cataloged every gouge in the soil. Then I drove to the county records office. The clerk there looked nervous when I asked about the annexation. According to our system, he said your property was added to the HOA's jurisdiction 2 years ago. He turned the monitor toward me. There it was. My name, my address, and the same forged signature notarized by Brenda Holcomb. I recognized that name. Brenda was one of Cassandra Pike's board members. When I pointed that out, the clerk leaned closer and whispered, "You're not the first to complain. They've been annexing properties aggressively, but you're the first with proof." That should have comforted me. It didn't. It made me realize just how deep this rot went. That night, an excavator appeared at my gate, huge, silent, parked just inches from the chain and padlock. No workers, just a threat left behind. A reminder that they could come back any time. I called Marion. "They're trying to intimidate you," she said. "Don't give them that satisfaction. Cease and desist goes out tomorrow." But the intimidation didn't stop. A black SUV cruised by at midnight, lights off. A zoning violation notice showed up on my gate the next morning, accusing me of building my workshop illegally, something that had been permitted a decade ago. They were trying to drown me in paperwork, scare me into submission. For a while, it almost worked. I started to think maybe I was the crazy one. Maybe I should just sell the place, move somewhere quiet. What was the point of fighting a machine like this? I remember standing at my kitchen window, watching the trench glow silver under the moon and thinking, maybe I've already lost. Then I noticed something odd about the pipe itself. A small metal access panel bolted into the casing. I grabbed a screwdriver, pried it open, and froze. Inside wasn't gas infrastructure. It was wiring, and stamped on the junction box, Meridian Grid. Marion's voice turned razor sharp when I told her, "That's Industrial Tech Jackson. Meridian builds data conduits, not gas lines. They're using the HOA as a cover." That was the spark I needed. Fear burned away, replaced by fury. If they wanted a war, I'd bring sunlight to every shadow they'd ever crawled through. I reached out to Wafku. Leah Morris, a local reporter known for chasing the stories people wanted buried. I sent her the photos, the forged documents, everything. Within a day, she was on my porch, notepad in hand, eyes bright with curiosity. "Who notarized the annexation?" she asked. "Brenda Holcomb," I said. "Same woman on the HOA board." Leah's eyebrows shot up. "Conflict of interest. That's fraud territory." She dug deep and uncovered a trail of payments, money flowing from Meridian Grid into a hidden HOA reserve fund. Every annexation lined up perfectly with those transactions. The more we looked, the uglier it got. Soon I wasn't alone. My neighbor, old Tom Franklin Henders, came by with coffee and stories of how the HOA had bullied him years ago. "They fined me until I sold 5 acres, he said. "But you've got something I didn't prove." We gathered others. Joe and Mara, another couple, harassed out of their property. Together we signed affidavits, each story echoing the same pattern: forged papers, intimidation, bogus violations. The HOA didn't like that. 2 men in suits showed up one evening with a briefcase. "We're here to offer a resolution," one said. "The HOA is prepared to compensate you generously if you grant permanent access to your property." I laughed. "You want to buy the right to steal from me? Think carefully," he warned. "Fighting us will complicate matters." "Get off my land," I said, and slammed the gate in his face. Days later, the trucks came back, headlights blazing through the dark engines, growling. I grabbed my phone and hit record. And out from the shadows walked Cassandra Pike, her self jeans and a crisp shirt, pretending this was all perfectly normal. "You're wasting your time," she called. "The project will proceed. The community depends on it." "You forged my name," I shouted back. "You violated a court order and I've got proof. The only thing depending on this is Meridian's paycheck." For the first time, her smile cracked. She turned, snapped at the workers to pack up, and left. I stood there in the floodlights, chest heaving, knowing this wasn't over, but I'd finally rattled her. At the hearing that followed, Marion laid everything bare. The forged signature, the handwriting analysis, the Meridian wiring, the video of Cassandra trespassing despite an injunction. And then came the knockout. She called Brenda Holcomb to the stand. "Did you witness Mr. Cole sign the annexation document?" Brenda hesitated, eyes darting toward Cassandra. "Yes." Marion raised an eyebrow. "Interesting, because on that date, Mr. Cole's phone records show he was out of the county." Care to explain?" The room went silent. Brenda stammered, then whispered, I didn't witness it." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Cassandra's jaw locked. The judge leaned forward. "Forgery, fraud, and violation of injunctions will not be tolerated. An investigation into the HOA's finances is hereby ordered. All construction on Mr. Cole's property is permanently barred." It wasn't a celebration. It was a verdict and a warning. Weeks later, Cassandra resigned for health reasons. Brenda was indicted. The state opened a full investigation into Meridian Grid's dealings with the HOA. My trench was filled, my land returned, but the scars both in the soil and in me remained. That night, I stood on my porch as the sun bled out behind the pines. My land was quiet again. I thought of everything they'd tried, lies, threats, intimidation, and whispered to the wind. "You tried to steal my land, my peace, my name. But you forgot one thing. I don't scare easy." Lesson: power hides behind paperwork until someone's brave enough to read the fine print aloud.